Hello everyone. Good morning. Welcome to Technical Router. In the previous class, I have told you about I will give an definition, actual definition of the constructor. Sorry, I have not given. Now I'm going to give it that. The constructor. I had told you that the constructor is nothing but an initializing an object. Like initializing an object. Now the actual definition of a constructor is nothing but an initializing an instance variables to the current class. It is used to initialize instant variable to current class. Right? Initializing an instance variable to the current class is called as a constructor. Right? I told you that, and if the instance variables and then local variables, both of them having a same name, on that time we are going to use this keyword. So that instance variable we have to access into the current class, right? That is nothing but a constructor. Initializing an instance variable to the current class is called as a constructor. Okay. This is a definition of the constructor, and I explained about the encapsulation of encapsulation also. That is an binding and logical data into one simple entity, right? Binding and logical data into one simple entity. That you are grouping in the data which are logical related. That data is grouping into one class. Okay. That means if you group the logical data within one class means that data can't be accessed by the other class also. Okay. It is providing a security. That encapsulation providing a security. Now, for one more thing, let's have one example. Let me take one class. Class 1. In this class, I have one variable. It is a private variable. Private int ID. Okay, this is a private variable, right? This is a private variable. This private variable that can't be accessed by the other classes. That can't be accessed by the other class. If we are going to access it, we are getting an error. See, I'm creating an object. Hmm. See, if I'm going to access, that means I'm getting an error. See, I'm getting an error because of the private access modifier. If it is and private means that can't be accessed by the other class. Only within the class we can access that data that can't be accessed by the other class, right? On that time, what we should do? On that time, we should use an getter and setters. We have an getter and setters, okay? We have an getters and setters to provide an public access, okay, to provide an public access for these private variables. This process is called as a data hiding. That means that we having an private variables and we need an private public access for these private variables. So we have an getter and setters to provide an public access for this private variable. That process is called as a data hiding. Okay, it is a data hiding now. Means that having a private variable. How I explained the same thing I'm writing in a definition. Okay, I'm providing an access by using an public getter and setters. Providing access by using public getters and setters. Okay, public getter and public setter for each of the private variables. For each of the private variables, we are going to provide in public getters and public setters. Okay. This process is called as a data hiding. Okay, this process is called as a data hiding. And this public getter means it is used to get the data. Okay, getter means it is used to get the data, and setter means it is used to update this data. That means change the data. Once we have fixed the data, that we have to change somewhere time, right? When we're writing the code, when we have to change means on that time we are going to use a setter. To change it or update the data, we are going to use a setter. Getter is to get the data, and setter is to set the data. Okay, now let's go for an example or one or two examples on this getter and setter. Um, Based on the bank, we go on the bank class because the bank data is so private, right? The bank data is so private. Let us write a code on that. I'm having in one class that is a bank class. I'm having in one private variable, private in balance. I'm taking an private variable that is it is an int data type of a balance. Now let us write the method public, and this getter return type. The getter return type should be an same as a private data type. Okay, the private data type, whatever the data type is there, that should be a return type of the getters. Int get balance. Okay, now this is an rules. Return this dot balance. Okay, this is how we are going to create a getter. Okay, this is how we're going to get and create and getter. Now let us create a setter. Okay, public void. Okay, this is the setter is a void type. Okay, set balance. So we are going to add this instance variables inside into the setter. We have to add them. So to provide and to access this instance variables inside this method means we are going to use this keyword. Okay, this is how we are going to create and getters and setters. Getter, we are going to create the public access modifier, and the getter return type should be an same as a private variable, that is a data type. Okay, private data type. Okay, to get the balance, get this is a naming standard, that is a naming statement balance. To return this, we are going to return this dot balance. This is about the getter, how to we are going to create a getter. This is how to create a setter public. The return type of a setter will be a void type. Okay, the return type of a setter is a void type, but a getter will be having a the data type. Okay, the private data type. So yeah, we are going to pass this instance variables into the setter as an into the arguments. Now to access this instance variables, we are using a this dot balance is, and that means that we are going to initialize this balance in local variable into an we are going to initialize this local variable to the instance variables, both of them having same name. So we are using a this keyword. Okay, now let us access the that class data. That means we are going to create an object for the bank class. Bank. Okay. Now I have to get the data. Okay. Initially, I initialize here only. Now the balance is 2000. Let's think. Let us get the data. P dot get balance. B dot get balance meant to get the data. Whatever the data is there inside the bank, that data I have to get it. It is in private variables only. If you are using and directly, it can't get the private variables because it does not access in outside of the class, only within the class. To providing an public access, we are using getter and setter, right? Now I'm going to get the data. See, now I got the data. Now I have to modify this data. Now it is bank balance is 2000. Now I have to change it to the 5000. Means I'm going to use a setter. Okay. B dot set balance to 5000. Now I'm going to get that 5000. So I'm going to use a get balance. That is a getter. Okay. See. Setter is to set the data, that is an updated data. Getter is to get the data. This is how we are going to use in getters and setters in the data hiding for in private variables. We are going to use them. Okay. Now let us do one more example based on this data hiding. For an let us take one more class. Let us do it for an human PAN number and an Aadhaar number. Right? Those both are an private for each of the persons, right? The both an PAN number and Aadhaar number were an private for each of the person. Let us use it down by using an getters and setters, okay? Private string PAN. The PAN will contain both numbers and then alphabets, right? I'm going to take an A, B, C, D, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is an PAN number of some person. Now I'm going to take his Aadhaar number. His Aadhaar number, let us think. Okay, this is his Aadhaar number, okay? The other number will be in 12 digits. So I'm going to use it on long. Right now, for these private variables, we have to provide in public access that by using in getters and setters. Okay. Now let's create a getter and setter public for and string for and this the first the PAN number I'm for the PAN I'm going to create a getters. Okay. So the PAN the getter return type will be a same as a private data type, that is a string only. In previous example, there is only one private variable, right? That is only one private variable. So we are easily creating getters and setters. But here we have two private variables, but both of them, the both of the each of the private variables, we have to create in getters and setters. Okay. For each of the private variable, we have to create in getters and setters. Now get pan, we have to return them, right? We have to return it down. And this dot pan. So I have been created an getter for the this thing, right? For this thing, I have created an getter. Now I have to create an setter for the pan. Okay. Public void set pan. So I have to pass that. This dot pan is equals to pan. Now I have been created an getter and setter for that pan number. Right? I created getter and setter for a private pan. Now I have to create an getter and setter for the private other public. So for getter, it is having a long type. Long get this is a norm to it. You have to add a return type, right? This dot other. I have created a getter for the other. Now I have to create a setter. The setter is a void type. Set other. Okay, I have created an getters and setters for the private variable, that is an pan and other. Now I have to access both data. So we have to create an object. When h is equals to new human. So let us print the data. Now let us get the data. H dot get other. Before that, let's get the pan. Get pan. I'm going to get the pan data, that is this one, and I'm going to get the other data, both of them. See, I got the pan data and other data. Now I have to modify the both the pan and other data. Okay. On that time, we are going to use a setter to set the data. Set pan number. I'm going to set it down as a KLM. Okay, this is a pan number. I'm going to change an other number also. Set other something. Okay. Now I have to change the pan and other number. Now I have to get it on, means I'm going to use a getter. Get pan and get other. Before I got an output these two, right? These two, I'm going to get an output of these two updated data. I got, right? I got. Hmm. Comment them. I'm going to get an output of updated data, that is I updated and get us for an updated data for an pan and also for an other also. Is how we are going to provide an public access for the private variables. See, for each of them we don't need to use this much of length code for an to do, we don't need to remember for this much of length code. Instead of, we have an inbuilt getters and setters. Okay, after we are creating and private variables, now the private variables is there, right click. Okay, right click, here is there is an source. Okay, here there is, and so generate getters and setters. Okay, generate getters and setters for other and pan. Tick mark the generate. It has been generated. See, it has been generated, right? It has been generated. Easily has been generated. And after that, we can create an object for those classes, and we are going to get and set the data. This is how we are going to use an data hiding concept. Okay, we have an private variables providing an public access by using an public getters and setters for each of the private variables. So we don't need to create each of them. So we have an inbuilt for them, that is an right click source generate getters and setters. Okay, in this way also we can do it. Now the next is, let us go for an abstraction. The four pillars of OPF, one is an encapsulation. I have already explained that. The next is an abstraction. Abstraction is nothing but an hiding implementation details and exposing only required details to the end users. Hiding implementation details and exposing only required details to end users. Okay, to end user. Hiding implementation details and exposing only required details to the end users is called as an abstraction. For example, Now we have a scanner class, right? We don't know how it is internally working, right? We don't need of an internal implementation of the scanner class. We are just getting an external how it is for an if we have a scanner class means for that we are going to use a next int method and then next float. See, I'm going to get only the data. How it is internally working, I don't need. I need only an output. Okay. One example is that. Now one more example is that now we have a string class. How it is internally working of the length method in the string class, we don't need it. Only I need a length of the output. Okay? Only length, I need one length method. Okay, only I need it. How only I need the output. How it is internally working, I don't need it. Okay, how it is internally working, I don't need it. I just need it only an output. See, for example, for this is a this is only example for this abstraction is nothing. This is only how it is internally working. I don't need it. Okay, I don't need internal working. Only I just needed output, right? Only I just need an output. Hiding, we are don't need of an internal implementation. Only we need a required details. What are the output I need? I need that. How it is internally working? I don't need it. This is only an abstraction. Okay. The encapsulation is nothing but an encapsulation is nothing but a data hiding and abstraction. Encapsulation is nothing but a data hiding and abstraction. Encapsulation is nothing but a data hiding and an abstraction. Now, let us discuss the differences between a POJO class and a Bean class. This POJO class and Bean class means in the upcoming classes, we're going to have this POJO class and Bean class. So, let us see what are the properties of a POJO class and Bean class. Now, let us go for a POJO class. Okay. If the class that should say as an POJO class means there are some properties, it should follow those properties. Okay. The properties are nothing but the properties of this POJO class is the first is the class should have the constructor with no arguments. Okay. The constructor should be there. The constructor with no arguments. Whatever the classes we are writing still for, those are the POJO classes only. Okay. Those are the POJO classes. The second property that is it should have a public class. And the third property, it should have a private variable. Okay, the third property. And fourth property, it should have a public getters and setters. Getters and setter. See, this class. This is an POJO class. Okay, this is an POJO class. How we are going to say this POJO class means by default the Java compiler will provide an constructor. Right? The POJO class means the default the Java compiler provide an constructor with a no arguments constructor only. This is and there is an constructor with an private class. Okay, private class and then public private variables, public class and then private variables and then public getters and setters. This is a POJO class. This is a POJO class because all the properties were satisfying this, right? All the properties were satisfying this. This is a POJO class. Okay. Now let us see in Bean class. The POJO class means you are understanding. The POJO class means the constructor without any arguments. The constructor should not have any arguments. It should have one public class. There is one public class and private variables should be there. Here is one private variables and then public getters and setters should be there. Okay. These are POJO class. Now let us see about the bean class. There are two kinds of classes, POJO classes and bean classes. Whatever we are doing still now, these are POJO classes. Now one more class is there, it is a bean class. Let us see in properties. How the class should be, we are going to say that is in bean class. How the class we are going to say in POJO class means it is having a constructor without arguments, one public class and one private variable should be there, and public getters and setters. If we are having all these properties means that is in POJO class. How we are going to say that is in bean class means now the constructor with no arguments. The constructor with no arguments. The second property in the public class should be there. Okay, and one more property, private variable, public getters and setters, and if these four properties is there means that is an POJO class. With two four properties there is a one more property is there means that is an bean class. That is an implementation. Implement java.io dot serializable serializable interface. If we have these five properties, that is an bean class. Okay, if we don't have one this property, we having four this of these pro properties, that is an POJO class. Okay, only if we are going to have these five properties, that is a bean class. Implement java.io.serializable interface means when we are going to an interface concept, I'm done that time I'm going to explain about that. Okay, these are about the two class, that is a POJO class and a bean class. Okay. Okay, these are about the today's topics. Have explained about then data hiding concept and then abstractions. Okay, abstraction is nothing but a hiding implementation detail and exposing only a required details for the end users. So until here we have done with an two pillars, right? Of an OOPS, two things we are done with an OOPS concept. It is an encapsulation and an abstraction. And tomorrow we are going to start with an inheritance. Okay, and tomorrow we are going to start with an inheritance. Now I'm going to end here. Thank you.